Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the thing show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find their way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. As information is being disseminated amongst the people, we have to look at where a lot of this stuff comes from and how do we get to think? Why do we think as a group of people? Why we think we do what we think? And where we got it from? How do we get in this position? And one of the ways, and it's true, if you want to know where you going, all you got to do is look at your history. And those events that have you thinking and doing what you think and do today. You think and do what you do today because it was taught to you by the previous, the ones who were in the know and all the educated ones at the time. Part of a bigger culture, bigger than yourself, bigger than your family. And how that thought pattern was hoisted upon us, and we just fell into it like we wrote the damn script ourselves. So tonight, on the history, part of it, this is a part that a lot of these things, and please, I'm going to put the invite into the chat. Those of you who have something that you see, what damn, I can see why we do that. And this is the last 60 years. Listen, we can go back a ways. We can go back Revolutionary War time. We can't remember that song by Stevie Wonder, As. You're a part of life. You produce life. Produce the food that goes with life. That's you. That's you. But somebody came along and told you you were something else. And we went with it. Joining me as always, the Accomack goddess. You know what an Accomack goddess is, guys? This is what an Accomack goddess is. Something that we can all agree upon. Remember that Ohio Players Honey album? Anybody who know music know the Ohio Players Honey album. The sister on that album cover with the honey dripping off of her. Where they at? This is one of them right here. How you doing tonight, Lisa?
That was a lot. Hey, how are you doing? That was way too much.
That, hey,
All right.
hey,
Woo!
your sister,
What?
your sister sent me a post where this 100-year-old man is sleeping on the floor. And I'm like, what?
What is she? What? What was it?
It's just, the image that we are, the image that we're always doing, we're always portrayed as.
Oh yeah.
Because life imitates art. We do what we see. And and I think going back in this history and this, and we just gonna go back 60 years. This is kind of like a recent history. It's not that long ago. I would suggest if you do history, do it in 50-year increments. Let another group of people do another 50-year increment because it can get long and convoluted because the identities change.
Oh yeah.
People change, we change with the times. And
Hmm.
we're going to see back when we're going to do today, we're going to go back and look at some of these years and some of the things that happened to figure out why we do the dumb shit we do. I'm talking about as a group. I'm not talking about as individuals. I'm talking as a group of people, and I'm talking about the indigenous people of America. If you're not indigenous or you're not thinking that you're a part of America, I'm not talking to you. But if you are, this is for
Right.
you. So, those people, that are part of this, a part of
Right.
life, a part of the whole America, what this means. That's you. Everybody wants to be you. So, how you doing tonight, Lisa?
I'm excellent. Excellent, excellent. How are you?
I'm great.
Yay.
So, what do you think about the history aspect of it? Going back in history and looked at some of the things that have us on what we're on now.
I think we have to study it and study it a lot and study it carefully because you can't really adequately understand who and where you are today without looking back and comparing and contrasting with the past, you know?
So you think 60 years, why do you think 60 years is important?
Well, I feel like so much is done. See, it wouldn't be important if we were just allowed to live. See, the indigenous people are not allowed just to exist. If the indigenous people were just allowed, and we think that we think we're just existing. We think, well, I'm just gonna go on and get this education, and then I'm gonna kind of get this job, and I'll get a better position. We think we're existing like the images of the Europeans that we see in the movies are existing. We think we're going through that same trip in life with just a few obstacles in our way, like people that don't like us. Yeah, that's what we think. What we really need to really grasp is that it's nowhere near anything as simplistic as that. I wish it was, but it's so not, because every 30 years there are assaults made, assaults and actions taken against us to annihilate us. Um, all kinds of daggone maneuvers, all kinds of military acts are heaved at us within that 30-year period. And 60 years, another 60 years, another few things. And then when it gets near that 100-year period, then they take out the big guns. Then it becomes a major war, a major all out war against us, and we just won't go away. But this thing is that we also don't we keep going backwards when we should be going forward. You can't go forward if you don't pay attention to what is happening and you don't know what is being done to you. You're not in the game. You can't play the game if you're not in it. The game of war.
Can you say that one more time?
You simply cannot play the game if you're not in it. You cannot play this game, and this game is war. It's a game of war. We're in a game of war. We're not just existing in the planet. we are existing in a game of war. And and I say that to kind of make it, I make a little bit of light of it, but then again, it's serious because it really seriously is war. But also, it's a game because it's like it, it keeps going. We keep doing it over and over again, and we're not engaged. It's really, you really can't call it an all-out war, because usually in an all-out war, I'm fighting you and you're fighting me. Well, we're not fighting. We're not fighting. We're just taking it and taking our licks and forgetting and moving on, taking more licks, taking it, moving on. That's what we're doing. So it's really not an all-out war. It's not a fair war. It's not a real war. It's like a game of war. Because we're not in it. Our heads aren't in it. We're not in it. We don't believe it. We're not engaged. When are
At
we going to
all.
engage? Hmm?
At all.
Yeah, we're not engaged. So it's not, it cannot, so you really can't call it a war. It's like a game of war. It's a game of war and for us, it's not a war at all, because like I said, we don't even acknowledge it. And we want to, we actively try not to. Every assault, we don't see it as an assault.
So you don't think us not seeing that that is the problem? How is that so? How is that made so? Because it would seem like if you're being attacked, you would do something to thwart that attack. And why are we just walking into the punches? Because that's what it just seems like to me, and not caring.
We do not care. See, this is the thing. I don't think you can garner you cannot rise to the level of respect. You cannot self-actualize. People are into like this, being your best self, self-actualizing, build a better body, be healthy, eat clean, blah blah blah. All this stuff, they want to be great, but you're not being great in the most important way. You're not trying to be great in the most important way. We have to self actualize in how we see ourselves, how we see ourselves in this planet. If we don't elevate in that way, you can't expect anybody else to see us any differently. Let me say, I'm just livid because the little boy in Virginia shot his teacher, which is horrible, and his poor teacher. Teachers have a horrific job, a hard job, a noble job, an honorable job, a hero job. No one, I mean, to get shot by a child is insane and horrific, and to defend the rest of the students so no one else was hurt is amazing. However, the headlines read that the police chief states the 6-year-old child shot her intentionally. Now this makes me gag. It makes my lungs collapse. It makes me lose my air. It makes my brain explode. I cannot believe that we are executing this child in the media. I cannot believe this police chief is showing his blatant racism, bigotry, and bias. That's the mildest way I can say it. Bias in public. It's being splattered across the world, CNN, and everybody's putting it out there that, yeah, this 6-year-old did it intentionally. Well, I don't know, but is he a mind reader? Is he a psychiatrist, psychologist? Is he a social worker? Is he a doctor? What is he? Is he a minister, a priest? What? How does he know the intentions of this baby? And why is CNN, World News, Wall Street, the New York Times, why are they all plastering this stuff out there like it's a fact? And then at the same time, the next day, a 13-year-old was murdered. Now, she was shot in the shoulder or somewhere around the chest. She's not dead. She's going to make it. She's going to be able to return to her career. She's not crippled. Okay? She's not going to lose her ability to have children. She's not, you know, damaged in any kind of really horrific way. But this 13-year-old was murdered because somebody came out and thought he might be trying to tamper with some vehicles. And he was murdered. And there's no statement about him going to jail, being brought in, he's definitely intended to kill. No, there was no statement that blamed this shooter, this adult, obviously not negro shooter of this 13-year-old indigenous child in Washington, D.C. So this 13-year-old is murdered. He has no future. But there is no condemning headline and really no big headline over his murder. But we got a police chief crying all over the freaking news. You can't look anywhere over this teacher who's gonna be okay. And all these African Americans are out there clamoring and begging for the police to come into the schools and save them from their own children. I'm sorry, but if you don't look at things now with a critical eye, and you don't look at the trajectory of the past and say, wow, they are in your face disrespecting you. They are measuring your responses, and your responses are low, and they are you ain't alive. The way y'all are freaking zombies, the way you are not responding. I don't think y'all have a pulse. Because if you're not living over the fact that a man can sit there and boo-boo over a teacher who made it, who's okay, the kids are fine, and they're going to make a 6-year-old into he's already convicted. We don't know if this baby may be as crazy as this baby may be crazy as hell, just crazy. We don't know what kind of psychological damage this child got. We don't know what kind of meds or drugs this kid's on. What the Ritalin did to him, what the vaccine. I don't know what's wrong with the child. But for anybody to say it's intentional without knowing the condition of the child, and you're not even qualified to make a statement like that, and it to be reverberated all over the place over and over again. Meanwhile, a 13-year-old the very next day, and the very next, pretty much not even the next state, it is not the district anyway, the district right next to that said child gets murdered because somebody thought. And the person that thought is not vilified, is not over the headlines as a child murderer.
Will Flow.
Meanwhile, there's another headline on the same weekend of a dog. Somebody owned a dog who killed a child. The dog got mauled, and I guess they couldn't save the child. And so that person is being charged with murder. Not the dog isn't, the person is. So I mean, all these things are happening at the very same time.
Do you think this is a result of past history? How we have put ourselves in this, we integrated into a system, wanted to be a part of a system,
Hmm.
a system that I don't even know why we did that. I don't even know why that was done. But we wanted to be a part of a system that didn't want us in the first place, but saw that they could use the numbers, and it was more of us than they thought. And we went in and joined them. Do you think a lot of this, what you're seeing today, is a result of that?
Um, it's so much to it. There's so many twists and turns and layers. It's always, we are the type of people that would like to get along. We the get along people. We love everybody. So I mean, that's our problem, is that we don't ever see anybody as an enemy. That's not how we see people. You got to show yourselves to be an enemy to us.
Isn't
And
that
even if you show yourselves to be an enemy, if you have if for some reason we forgive and forget if you're of another culture.
that part right there? Huh?
We
I
forgive
mean,
and
like,
forget
like, like,
if you're of another culture, we'll forget.
nah, 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 nah. I can't see a group of people that piss in your face and then you going back asking for more. I don't see us as that. I think that's what's put forward. I think that the people that they put forward to be in for us to be influenced by, play that role. They facilitate that idea, but I don't think that's how it's done.
Yeah.
I was told, and somebody please tell me if I'm wrong. Treat others how they treat you.
That's the golden rule. But you know, that golden rule, that's not a rule anymore, see. The all rule all this is the time of no rules. Whatever the globalists say it is, that's what it is. It's a no rules time.
Right.
And kids aren't kids. Kids are tiny adults. They're tiny adults. It is a triple X rated time in the world. So if we back it up to the 60s, 50s, that was a G rated time. G rated. Then you go to the 80s and the 90s, that was PG. PG 13, possibly. PG 13. Yep. Then you go to the early 2000s, it was a hard R. But just over the 20, it was like a R. It was a R trying to turn into an X bit, as the daggone 2000s progress. But that 2019, that time, that's when everything turned triple X. Just went all the way. All the way. And now we come out on the other side, and all of a sudden everything's supposed to be acceptable, no matter how vulgar, no matter how bizarre. And our kids are supposed to be exposed to all of it. And a lot of these people coming up now don't even know that there was a time when actually the children were protected by society, generally within this construct. It was G rated and protected the children for a period of time. Now, we can argue that it was really wild and the kids weren't protected in the early 1900s. There was another wild period then. We can go with that. It's cyclic. It's a cyclic thing. That could be actually, that's most likely true. You get a time of real conservativeness, followed by it loosening up into it being a time of all out debauchery. But see, this debauchery period is supposed to be not ending. This is supposed to be the whole world is geared up for this debauchery period.
So where do you say it start? So can you take us, through a timeline of
Yeah.
how we got to this part?
Well, I mean, I think it started. I would say it started um, with. Let me see. No, I don't want a picture in picture. I'm trying to play it. Mm. Oh, I'm trying to share the screen. I don't know. Is it? Can it? I don't think I have control. Do I have control? No. Okay, there you go. Yeah, there it is. So I think it started before I was born with the death of Emmett Till. We had things happen. There was bad things happening. There was a lot of that whole period in the 1950s. That was the Exodus period where a lot of people were leaving the South, the 40s and the 50s, because they were chased out of their wealth. And like even like my thumbnail picture, that's my aunt's little business there. That's her little business that she used to have. So, there was a period when a lot of folks had businesses. They was thriving, gas stations, all kinds of stuff. And the more you look into your family, the more you're gonna learn that about your own history. Think but you don't know. You are connected to so many, many people, and many, many, many of those people have done amazing things. Well, the death of Emmett Till was to put a exclamation point on um all the local trauma, the local oppression, the local harassment, the local uh lynchings that were going on throughout, burnings, lynchings, drownings, floodings that was going on all throughout the country. This loss, being chased out for taxes, being economically unemployed, being outsourced, out resourced, whatever that would drive you out of business or out of your daggone homestead, that was happening. And then 1955, they just put that on there as a clincher so that everybody could be given the message of what happens to us when we step out of line, out of our place.
I think something that, especially with that, we have to really talk about, because a lot of stuff we do, we're right smack dab in the middle of it, and a lot of time make that shit happen. And then we try to hide our hands and wash. And this is one thing we got to remember. And this
Yeah.
and this is going. I know we'll talk about this later. The Black
Hmm.
Panthers. You will see in a lot of these things, it's Negroes right smack that dab in the middle guiding all these events. We'll show you that in a few of these tonight, how we got to thinking how we are today. These are this is what we've picked up. from previous generations how they did it when they left where Emmett Till was murdered, when the people were living there. Can you imagine the land? Can you imagine the land? And we ran away from it.
And it's
So,
not yeah, we had land, wealth, resources, all this kind of stuff. Oil, minerals, whatever you want. Water, that's just the water, the quality of everything, the timber, everything. And then this is the thing. So, yeah, there's weird things about Emmett Till. Like, what did he? I mean, first of all, if you look at the corpse, I mean, I know they say that's him, but I don't know. It's really not discernible if it is the little boy. But I could tell you one thing: it's all kind of weird how that all was set up. But you have to understand that our people have been involved with our trauma from the very beginning. And they're not our people necessarily. They they are most likely, European invaders, These same Europeans that invaded us and infiltrated are still doing it to this very day. Most of them are in show business, politics. These are our social political overseers. Most of them are these, melanated Europeans, right? Most of them. Some of them are us, our indigenous selves, our indigenous kinfolk that are betraying us. And just, so I mean, and you have people in your family that just won't get right and just are just problematic, you know, just fatally problematic. Okay. So what we have to realize is a lot of them created these illusions to lead us down a line like sheep. So yeah, I mean, we have to look at these things not with absolute trust, but with a little with a large dose of skepticism, because the fact that the Europeans put this in the media and blasted it all over, it was for a reason, and the reasons are varied and vast. There's a reason for it. It's not because they cared about this young man. It's about they cared about creating the trauma in us. And then the people that actually also helped to hurt us along, we're going to benefit. All those overseers that were going to have all these sheep stampeding their way, were going to be they were going to be rewarded for this, and they were rewarded, and they are rewarded to this day. Don't you think?
oh, they're rewarded big time. Another thing that remember during this time, 1955, is that's when a whole lot of the TV became more widespread. If you talk to a lot of your great grandmothers and grandmothers, they'll tell you they started watching TV around the 1955s, 1950s, because they were listening to radio back then. So as we're going through this, remember, TV is a major component of these news stories, these ideas, these twists and turns in history that shaped a lot of how we see things today. Right? So, okay, so yeah, 1960s. Go ahead. Some of my family members tell me that this is pale faces land, so they can do whatever they want to us because we were the slaves from Africa. So that's what I'm saying. You see, this is how we're trained. Africans don't even claim you. They don't even claim you. They know who you are. You don't. I know you've been taught we are African and we came over. Yeah, that's on us. And it's also on us that we don't pass this shit on to our kids because we're going to look like assholes if we do. Really? Anything they tell us, anything, we believe it's the truth. You let those people believe. They can believe what they want. You can believe what you want to believe. But at least think about it. And the average Negro refuses to think about anything.
So I think that's the key to our problem right there. Is that we just don't want to think. We just want to la 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 la. We just want to not. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. It's what's the point? It's the white man's land. Oh, they could do what they want. They brought us here. Oh, we don't have any choice. They control everything. And we don't have no place to go. Oh, poor African American. Got carted over in the bottom of a boat. Don't got no place to go. Well, they've been paying off Ghana quite heavily. They offered you citizenship, so you can go over there and be treated like crap by people who treat their people far worse than anything you can imagine.
I would say
Paid.
I would say this. So this is what I mean by thinking. Okay, you have a whole slew of informational videos. All you have to simply do is find the people who moved to Africa and see how it's going. That's all,
Mm-hmm,
that's all you got to do. If
mm-hmm.
that don't teach your ass, you ain't trying to learn.
Correct. Think about it. Somebody was perfectly positioned. How they behind the counter and got that perfect picture that they gave to the news media of him being pushed against the counter? I mean, yeah, these look like photo ops. They look like photo ops.
You're going to see that damn near all of them are photo ops.
There you go.
That's how your perception of things are shaped. That's how you're made to believe something that never happened. See, they write scripts all the time. I have people saying, "Well, man, they wrote it in a book." Yeah, and we don't use our brains to figure out nothing. That was it. Cause boss said it. If boss said it, how you gonna say something else? Cause boss said that. Then we like that, man. And then try to act, and when we're in front of each other, then we try to act like we the baddest person on the block. Always got to dog each other out. I'm talking about all the time. Can't even have a decent conversation.
Sad.
Can't want to fight about everything. And I found out what that is. See, a person wants to fight normally because they can't keep up with the conversation. Whatever is going on, they've been trained, like we're about to show you through all these images. They've been trained to be a dumbass their whole life. Seriously. They've been trained to do that. They have to be that. So when it's becoming when it's becoming apparent that they are one, they have to change. They have to shift the energy and want to fight.
Hmm.
That's a ploy Negro's been doing forever. Forever. So these images, like this one she's showing, it's a photo. His wife is right there just looking calmly.
Hmm.
Martin, just bow your head. Yeah. Now, if that was your mama, that was your aunt, that was your cousin Linda, that was your cousin Peaches, it wouldn't look like that.
How you can see it's not real. Look at the officer. You see, when you're trying to restrain somebody, your body's gonna be tense. Your body's gonna be pushing, and your face is gonna be tense. His face is
Right,
not tense,
right,
and your body's gonna be pushed positioned. And he's just touching his side like they're
right,
dancing. You
right,
know, he's that he didn't push him. He didn't push him down. He held on to him. He just held on to him as he leaned on the counter. You know,
right,
and and that's how you can tell the difference. That's why Floyd thing didn't look right, because you could tell by the tension in people's faces. You could tell by the positioning, if you really pay attention to the positioning, of whether it's actually a contact that is exerting force. You
right,
can see where his shoulder is, his
right,
elbow position. His elbow would be raised higher if he was really pushing, pushing on him. It wouldn't be down close to his body. You can't really push him with your elbow down like it is on that where the officer is positioned. Look at the other one. He's leaning on his elbow behind him. So yeah, this is a photo opportunity. It's psychops.
So now imagine this is Lisa. What year was this?
66, I believe, or something like that.
This is 66.
Hmm.
Imagine how far we've catapulted to today.
If they could do that back in the day, what are we looking at now? What are they demonstrating for us now that we believe? Do- you gonna take that off? Oh, okay. Does it make sense for us that know to create a body that represents the interests of Aboriginal people of America, local, regionally, globally? Well, the reality is this. Yeah, it does but Aboriginal would not be the term I would use anyway, but I would use indigenous and I would use American Indians. But the other thing is, it only makes sense when people start getting their families together, you know, getting their families organized at the very least, so that you have real, credible, like you have a foundation to work off of. You've already started a power base that can protect you, a power base that can define you, and a power base in which today going to formulate your territory. Other than that, I mean, it's just going to be kind of chaotic, and everybody's not you. So the odds are the people are that if you just start an Aboriginal people's thing, these people ain't gonna be American Indian. They're gonna be a bunch of foreigners who are pretending to be you because you don't have any specifications. You haven't really organized yourself under your bloodline. And it's also really disrespectful to your identity and your ancestors when you don't organize yourself under your actual ancestral bloodline. And plus, all you're doing, like I said, the main thing is you're inviting a bunch of people in who really don't know who they are, who's pretending to be you. And you're doing the same, going around that same circle you've been around, where you got white people pretending to be you, you got Asiatic people pretending to be you, and now you're just adding to it or you got Southeast Asian people pretending to be you, and now you're adding to it by making this Aboriginal umbrella term that anybody can jump in on. Welcome all. That's why it's important to do the real thing and define yourself in a real way. And then once you have all, let's say we get to the point where we got six well-defined nations. Somebody in Michigan is organized well. Somebody in got the Lettahatchee in Alabama. You got the Accomack in Virginia. You got somebody in Florida. You got somebody in Mississippi or whatever. Um, Tennessee or whatever. You got four or five, 4 to 6 people, five different nations that can say, yeah, we actually have our people. We actually have a role. We actually have bloodline connections. We actually have daggone records that we can daggone define it. We actually have land affiliated with where we belong. You let those kind of power pack people. All you need is 4, really 3 even. 3 to have some real shit going on. That's powerful. That's more powerful than a bunch of flimsy people who they know all of them ain't what they claim to be. They know us better than we know us. So if you throw in an Aboriginal term and throw a bunch of daggone melanated people, the majority of them ain't got nothing to do with this country. They're gonna know it. And it doesn't matter where they know it. The fact is your ancestors gonna know it. The other fact is you stealing. You stealing from the indigenous people, and that's wrong. I don't want nobody stealing from me. I'm over that. So I don't want everybody. I don't want a free for all. I don't want a bunch of freaking random aboriginals trying to come in and claim things and take away from what should be mine. No. No more of that.
So do you see that as coming to a head where, when everybody's talking this indigenous talk that's going on around, and people are waking up to it because they can't run into these other. It seems like everything is falling apart. Really, it seems like everything is really falling apart at the seam because it's not a lot of belief in the media, in the medical establishment, nowhere. So do you see this coming to a head? Or do you think we're just going to just keep doing the same dumb shit we've been doing for the past 60 years?
I think you don't need a lot of people to make a lot of change. But you do need a few people to actually make a change. And what it's going to take is, like I said, even if it's 3 or 2, if it's 2 solid or 3 solid, it's going to make a difference. If it's only 1 solid, then only 1 solid it shall be. But you got to make those real moves. I don't want it to be just the Acamax.
Right,
But if it turns out that way, I guess that's just the way it's going to turn out. But
right,
I mean, the reality is that you have to you have to draw your name in the sand. You have to say, look, this is who I am. These are who my people are. I have a voice. They gotta know you gotta be known.
right,
They gotta know you got an opinion. They gotta know what that opinion is. And they gotta know you don't back down. And they gotta know that you know what you know. And they gotta know that you know who you are. And there's no backing away from that. And they gotta know that you got certain daggone requirements and things. See, this is when you actually can create real power, but you can't create real power without being real. You can't create real power without being real. So that's what it really takes. And somebody asked the question. Somebody, what did he ask? I guess it must have went up to chat and I lost it. Anyway, but yeah, what was that? Somebody. Oh, Lisa, do you think they're trying to incite us today? Well, I think they are constantly assessing us. They're assessing our mentation. First of all, you got to understand you deal with these people, or if you don't deal with them, I'll tell you how they are. They think we're stupid. They have no respect. They think we're dumb. Well, first of all, we don't even know who we are. We don't even know how to get from point A to point B to daggone put them in their place. So they don't respect us. They know that they can tell us anything and we'll believe it. And they spend the majority of their focus on trying to see what we're thinking and what they can make us think, what we're going to believe, what we're going to be influenced by, what we're going to get emotional over, what we care about, what we ignore, what they can get away with. That's the biggest thing. They're always assessing what they can get away with us. So by all these things happening at once, and all we care about is trying to beg for police in our schools, when that's what they want us to do, is beg for police in our schools so they can go ahead and take our children and treat them like little adults and molest them and have them in the daggone detention system. They're winning.
Lisa, we're gonna invite James Brown Jr. to the conversation. James, how you doing this evening?
I'm all right. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, to I kind of missed the comments, but I saw Herbo was talking about how we was Africans and stuff. I put in the chat that I did my genealogy trying to find the African slaves and a tribe to track to Africa, and I ran into Indians and the treaty that messed my people up, which is the Porch Creek Treaty. And I mean, that's just what happened. I did my genealogy thinking I was an African, and I don't come from slaves either.
There you go. That's awesome.
And let me ask you a question, man. How hard was it?
Well, I can explain it like this. I wasn't, I wasn't mad about finding out that I came from Indians. I was mad because I was lied to, and I cried.
You all cried out now?
Yeah, I'm good now. I mean, I meet Indians all the time, and I hang with Top Cat and them, that teach, you know, it goes in depth as to like history, and they go out and go see the mounds and go to different places. But when I on this channel, like I hear y'all because y'all like are a lot older and y'all are frustrated because I talked to you before, Indigenous One, and you've been teaching this a long time, so I understand all your frustration. But for somebody like me that's younger and that's new to all of this information, what made it what made it real is that I went to the old folks and I said, I know who we are. Please don't lie to me. And once they told me um what had happened, I mean, I was like, damn, like, why would y'all not tell me that I was the Indian the whole time? So I just kind of approached things differently. I got I got over 20 acres before I became 30, and I don't know, sometimes it just kind of feel like I'm alone, kind of like in my age, trying to like teach this information because it's getting out there. But it's like I have a problem with people that they're not. You can't just teach. You also have to bring this stuff to reality. And I just kind of feel like I don't know. It's like a just being like a lone soldier.
No, you have people that'll work with you, but you're gonna have to get people wherever you got the land. Get the people down there to help, because they probably. I mean, if say you're not in Los Angeles or New York or nothing like that, if you have land in the South, you know, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have some family members down there, and I know they know how to work. You know, the lay of the land. Get them to help you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I come from farmers, so yeah, I understand all of that. I'm talking about like moving forward to the building process into
Okay,
getting back
okay,
to who you are.
to getting back to who you are. First of all, I don't know. I'm like, if you're in your homeland, if your land is already in your homeland, then that's major. But this is the thing. You have to repatriate your people. You have to figure out you did this. Didn't you come on before? You know your exact people? Do you not like just Creek or whatever? Do you know the exact people that the names of the clans or the people that you come from, or you don't haven't figured that out yet?
I've been tracking it down. I've been tracking down the for some reason it seemed like all of our names are on the Dolls roll. It don't
Just,
matter
just,
which
just, uh,
branch.
give me, shoot me an email. No, shoot me a message on my Acamac. Just go to acamac.org and shoot me a message on our website, and we can kind of dialogue real quick and figure out. Maybe we can. I mean, it doesn't really take me long to figure out stuff. So just kind of shoot me up, hit me up, okay? Because really, this is the thing. Um, until you actually get and it doesn't take long. See, I mean,
Yeah.
this is the thing. Everything feels like it's a lot when you don't know it, and that's what it was for me. When you don't know, everything feels like it's a lot, and everything feels like it's a lot when it's just you also. But it's gonna be just you. That's just the way everything major starts. It's just gonna be you. So this is the thing, though. Once you actually repatriating a people is the most powerful thing you can do, because and I know who was that was saying, Herbo was talking about his family. Baby, you don't know your family. You don't know your family, because your family is far larger than you can freaking imagine, because you haven't actually repatriated your people. So when you actually figure this out, let's say I say your people are the Tunga Chungas or whatever, I don't know, and we figure out the name, and it's like, oh, they're the Tunga Chungas. Oh man, and then you start digging deep, looking for books to talk about them, look for records that talk about them, blah 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 blah. The first thing you're gonna do, because we did a build on this. We did the build where Carrie did his organize the Latahachie. We went through every step you have to take. We've already talked about this, but we can talk about it again briefly. This is what you gotta do. You gotta figure out repatriating that people. You got the name. What's the first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna start a Facebook, you're gonna start an Instagram. You're gonna find your folk, because this is the thing. Your cousins that you know or may not know, your first and second cousins, that's the tip of the iceberg. Once you've been in the genealogy records, everybody in them records that's on the same page as your family are your other daggone Indian people. They're your kin. So those surnames are the other Indians, okay? Those people you got to reach out to on Facebook, different medias, because you look for them. You say, okay, she's related to this one. They both are from this area of the country. They're both from this town. Okay, they're most likely also of the same people. And you say, hey, would you happen to know that you are from here? You from here? You possibly are this Indian, and you invite them to join your page, your group, and you collect your people. By me organizing my people, I have people that are already activated, people that already were interested in their indigenous history, people who were already into genealogy, people who were already thinking, though I know this is the truth about us. They just didn't have nobody who was organizing it. And that's where you get your soldiers. And if you meet one person every couple of years, you're doing good. I mean, if you collect one person who actually is vibing and and understands it and has already done some genealogy you are winning. And these are going to be like people that may not be directly connected to you, because a nation is made of people who you can marry. So a lot of the people aren't going to be blood related, but they're gonna be related through the tribally related. They'll be sister clans and sister daggone sub tribes, and they'll be related. Like your cousin might be related to them, but you won't be related to them bloodline wise, and that's why people could marry. But yeah, you got that's how you're gonna build. That's how you're gonna get your team and your people, and it's gonna be real strong. Because like for me, and at the point where I'm suing for my homestead and suing for land, I got all this team of people that got different families, the different folks that they are connected to who own land and who have land grants. We all got different connections. So we covering this whole huge area by us all being kinfolk, but yet all being Akamak. That's how powerful it is. And then, you see what I'm saying? And then also, you're known as a people, and they know, because when they know the surnames that lived in this county, came from before they came here. They always they know it, and that's what's going to be powerful, because it's built on truth. You're going to have a network of people who are interconnected through the nation, and you're gonna have an interwaving number of people who are connected to this land. All this land is all connected to each other, and you can fight as a unit. That's how that works. So it's not so much about waiting for your family to wake up. It's about establishing your nation and building your nation, and reaching out to people who are a part of that nation. And then you're going to find your activated people, your activated kinfolk. And it only takes one or two. One or two more is tremendous.
So thanks, James Brown, for hanging out with us tonight. Okay, Lisa, you have the Supremes up there. What's happening with the Supremes?
Well, that's a pivotal thing, right? Okay, so let's talk about the Supremes, because the Supremes, you know, this was a time when what were we doing? Our civil rights leaders, our overseers, were directing us to cross over. The message of the 1960s was acceptance. We need to go into their schools. We need to be accepted. Now, understand that before all this, we had everything our own, and our own stuff was better than theirs. But in the 60-year period prior to the 60s, the 1900s, we forgot that. We forgot that in the 1930s and in the early 1900s, we had better stuff than they did, and they were so jealous they burned the stuff down. That stuff has been missed. That stuff was lost because nobody wanted to talk about it. So meanwhile, you got this generation trying to act like the most important thing we need to do is be accepted by the invaders, who double times over mess you over. You want to be like them. The most important thing that we did to undo ourselves was seeking to be accepted by them, thinking that mainstream acceptance and more ways than show business was the way we win. Putting our kids in integrated schools where they just destroy their self-esteem and dash their dreams and tell them that they're slaves. Nobody in our schools was teaching that we were slaves. That wasn't part of what anybody's people was telling them. But the first thing they did when we got in their schools was they put us in a subjugated position. And that's what they do continuously. They are not going to inspire your child to shine like somebody who respects them will and cares about them will. And it's even worse now than ever because not only are they subjecting you to substandard education, substandard, the worst level of education ever, but they also are making your children be subjected to inoculations that are going to change them and change their whole life in order to be in these institutions.
So if you could translate the Supremes to 2023, who would it be? Or what would it look like?
If I could change the Supremes to what?
If you could translate the Supremes to the same today, the same girl group or whatever today, 60 years later, what would it look like?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the groups that are out. I really don't. I can't speak to the groups that are out so much today. But I mean, I would think I would say I would say Beyonce would be Beyonce, and what was she? What was her group? Y'all in the chat know the name of the group. Anyway, you. But I would say that would be the Supremes of modern day Supremes would be Beyonce Knowles and whatever her people were. What was she called? Destiny's Child. Yeah, there you go. Destiny Child is the modern day example of the Supremes, right?
Keith
One of
Cobb
them,
says no
one
comparison.
of them was pushed forward. She had the least, lesser voice, but maybe more. She had more drive. She was hungrier. She was greedier. She was more eager than the other girls, but she didn't have the voice of the other girls. Um, that's it. A lot of it's like charisma and daggone and desperation. You know what I mean?
Uh,
More charisma, more desperate need to succeed. And there you go. That's Diana Ross and Beyonce.
I have to be side with Keith Cobb on this one. It's no comparison.
What do you mean?
It's no comparison. So when you ask, hey, who's today's Minnie Riperton? Hey, who's today Anita Baker? Who's today, some of the greats?
Well,
Are
I
we
mean, the Supremes. I mean, Diana Ross did not have a voice, so that you know what I mean. So I mean, it's not they were cool, but Diana Ross can't sing. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. Motown is they were smooth, they were polished. It was a time when we had a lot of class. You know what I mean? We had a lot of finesse. Yeah, there's no comparison to that era. But remember, that was a time when what was going on then? We were trying to assimilate to something that not saying that we are extremely classy people, but we was trying to like why were we trying to be accepted? That wasn't important. Acceptance should have been important to us because they copy us anyway. They're gonna follow us anyway. But for some reason, they wanted to get that. They wanted to be working in these white record companies. They wanted to be working for these daggone, white movie people. And that's the thing. White neighborhoods, everything was about trying. That was the epitome of success. And we made it that in our own minds. That was diabolical. Why did we do that to ourselves? We did that to ourselves.
So what did that lead to? Those kind of shenanigans, like what you saying, we're leaving the companies that we built, going to get into somebody else's company.
And then what did they do? We actually did that. Look at Detroit. All those all everybody fled to was like going to Detroit, working for these daggone Motor City, working for the daggone General Motors, all these different companies. And what did they do? As soon as they saw us start to elevate, they pulled the rug from out, literally from out from under us, and took all those companies and shipped those jobs away, and left us in a city of ruins because we ran to them to be our support system instead of building on what we knew how to do. Because the reality is everything they knew, everything they did, we did for them. All the renovations we made, but we became to the point where we didn't even trust ourselves to do it for ourselves. And that's what integration did to us. It made us not trust ourselves anymore. And the opposite should have happened. These overseers led us to daggone trust and believe that integration was going to be our salvation when it was our destruction.
We have a phone call from Deeper Than Rap, the real. What's going on, brother?
And peace to my brother Carrie, and peace to the beautiful sister breaking down the timeline. She's doing an amazing job, brother Carrie. How you doing?
Oh, everything is good. How you doing, homie?
Man, I just wanted to just add to it when she pulled up the picture of Emmett Till. I wanted to go back a little further and ask the sister if she could pull up the Great Flood of Mississippi, because that's one of the last that in my opinion the last stronghold politically that God is and I'm not a political guy, but I'm just telling the history of it. But that politically is what got us out of our rulership. That Great Flood of Mississippi, it displaced over a 30 year period, over 6.5 million people out of the South. So when she was saying about the flooding of the lands and how much land we had before we went down to Exodus, that was a great point that she made, because there was certain things in politics that played into our downfall politically, and it went across the board civically and economically as well.
That's absolutely true. But all that stuff happened, and we weren't going back that far. We were just doing 60 years. That's why I didn't go back that far.
Oh,
But
for sure.
the Great Flood of Mississippi, and that simultaneously a lot happened at that same time. There were lynchings, there were floodings, there were burnings all across the country. Hundreds and hundreds of cities were demolished or that were ours, even on a little area of the Eastern Shore, they used the U.S. military to come in and and tear up daggone businesses and stuff because the people had a they had such a big they were so wealthy, they had such a big agricultural business going on, an agricultural center going on, that they had an annual negro agricultural fair on the Eastern Shore. And you know what they were doing? They were shipping agricultural products to Cuba. They were winning. And the government helped to destroy all these cities, all these places. You got to understand. See, this is what we have to make. This is how. See, this is what the Indians can do. That these Boule, these black supremacists, these ADOS, these freaking I don't know foundationals, they're not going to do. Is that this is the thing? The government, all these things were government sponsored. They used redneck faces, but they all were government led. They were all government founded. All the destructions of these towns were. All of them. And That's how you. That's how you. That's how you get them. That's how you get them in the throat. You gotta. You gotta hit them. Hit them with the truth. The United States Corporation was the massacred all these indigenous people and towns. It was the U.S. corporation. That's what has to be hit.
Would you say that's that critical race theory that they're trying to hide from?
The critical race theory is any truth. They're just trying to use critical race to keep to put fear in the hearts of rednecks of any truth, and to make it to make and what they're painting it as is that critical race is to make them the villains. But critical race just talks about the fact that that these things are systemic, that a lot of the oppression and racism is systemic. But what I'm talking about is a little bit more direct than that. It's talking about that this is war, that this is extermination, that this is a holocaust. It's been a continuous holocaust and extermination of the indigenous people, and it's U.S. corporation sponsored. Because if you look behind all of them, every situation, you'll find that the U.S. government was called to support this annihilation, and they did.
And they did.
They sent in troops. And if you're going to send in troops, you're sponsoring it. You're sponsoring it. So yeah, I mean, probably like the next time we do this, we'll creep back further. But we just wanted to start with the 60 years and move forward. It's just like so much to chew. It's so much to for people. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But thank you for discussing the Mississippi flood. Let's not forget, Arkansas, North Carolina, Florida, all it happened everywhere. And I venture you to look into your homeland and your own family and start reading about it. Now, these narcissistic, crazy people, they write books about it. It'll be in your local libraries. It'll be in your daggone local bookstores because these daggone lunatics are proud of that stuff. I just found out about this dude wrote the book Gallows in the Marshes, about how they built the daggone gallows in the marshes of the Chesapeake Bay, to lynch this guy. And it was all around that whole thing where they burnt out all these different businesses and was killing a bunch of people on the Eastern Shore because they were so jealous that they wanted them people run out of town and wanted their business destroyed. So I mean, and he's proud of it. I mean, he wrote the book. I don't. Hey, they're proud of their craziness. They're proud of their evilness. So if you look, you can find out the evidence about your people. But if we run around just talking about we're Aboriginal and don't really deal with your actual specific history and your actual specific people, you're not gonna find out those gems that are like the linchpins that says, "Gotcha, I got you, and you freaking can't move. You can't budge because there's nowhere you can go. I got it locked solid. Now what?"
Yay.
Now what?
So what happened after the Supremes?
Okay, so let's do this. So after everybody was singing and doo-wopping and it was all beautiful and fun and and everything, then we had wait a minute, because you know what happened? We were singing and doo-wopping. We were driving around in nice cars, and we were trying to move into the wrong neighborhoods, right?
Right.
So then, oh wait, we got to get rid. And we were having babies, feeling ourselves, having big families. It was all good. Everybody had 5 or more kids. Oh no! Look at all these no! Look at all these Indians. We want the numbers to go down, not up. So what do they do when they want to get rid of the Indians? Well, they send the Indians to war. And what did they do? A draft. A draft. So that way you can control who you bring into the war. You can pick them by color. Yes, indeedy. They had a draft. And so they said, and what did they do once the brothers got to the daggone war? Pumped them full of drugs. All these brothers was introduced to more crazy drugs during that war than ever they would ever in their lifetime. Everybody was pumped full of drugs and cigarettes and liquor. Alcoholic, drug addict, smoke addicted. Yeah.
I used to work with a brother who went to Vietnam. And have you ever seen a movie called V for Vendetta?
No, I haven't.
It's a
Oh,
movie.
V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta. I haven't seen it. I heard of it though.
Yeah, if you get a chance, check it out. But pay particular attention to the part where he's in there cooking the young lady breakfast. And she goes, "Oh, your hands." And he looks at his hands, and the camera shows his hands, and they're all burnt up. And he puts on the glove to cover it up. I used to work with a guy who had hands like that, only he didn't cover them up. So I noticed everybody who he worked with, nobody liked him, but he was a cool dude. So I asked him one day, I was like, "Yo, man, what happened to your hands?" He said he was in Vietnam, 17 years old in Vietnam. And when you said how do they get rid of Indians? They send them to war. His picture popped in my mind. He said he said he don't know who it was. He said, but they were trying to kill him because all the white boys start firing behind them, making it seem like it was the Viet Cong coming up trying to kill him, and was telling them to go to this place where they could be safe. But
Right.
the safe was drenched
Wow.
with Agent Blue. Now,
Uh,
we talk about Agent Orange. It was Agent Blue. Agent Orange killed the foliage. Agent Blue killed the earth. And ran them into a whole bunch of that. And he was running, and he noticed that his clothes were burning. And he was like, "What the fuck?" And he came out, and he said that was a force. He said it was about 80 to 100 brothers in there dead.
Wow. Look at all that, man. But see, that's what they do it for. These, people think, okay, the senseless war. No, it wasn't a senseless war. Not to the global powers that be. Not when you're warring against the Indian. You're constantly warring against the Indian. No, it was a sensible war to rid them of a large population of Indians. Shoot, and even the ones that came back was jacked up. They were worthless. They threw them in the prisons. That was revenue, right? The drug addicts, honey, now that's what they did. My brother went to Vietnam, so my sister was wearing the little skirts and all that, like the Supremes, and then my brother, he went to Vietnam. He volunteered because he was being rebellious, I guess, against my father. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, he went to Vietnam, and he came out messed up, post traumatic, da 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 da, everything, drugs, all that stuff. Came out with all the whole everything, Agent Orange, everything. He had all that stuff, and night terrors, everything, everything, everything. So it messed up a generation. It messed up a generation because they really couldn't get right. A lot of them couldn't get right. If they had kids, they really weren't effective as fathers. They weren't effective as being just being whole beings. It took a long time it takes a long time for a lot of them to get right. And, the healthcare, for any kind of mental issues was horrible, subpar at that time. and hasn't really gotten itself together until recent years. Some of the therapies have been effective for, post traumatic and, bipolar and all this other stuff. But back then, there really wasn't any good medication or therapy for these guys. And they came back being spat upon, being hated, being cussed at, being hit as soon as they got off the plane. Imagine that. You sitting up there thinking you're gonna be a hero like your dad. Oh, I'm a hero, I'm a war hero. No, you ain't no war hero. They back at home hating this war and hating you for it. And you can't get a job, you can't get nothing. That's what Vietnam did. But Vietnam was really about killing the Indian. That's the point of it. They didn't really care about Vietnam. They cared about you being gone and your numbers being gone and your women not having anyone to be with and that and then they what did they do to your women while you were in Vietnam? They taught them they need to abort. They taught them they need to daggone not have children and da 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 da. They were all being in women's lib and you don't need a man and all that stuff was being poured into their head while their men were out at Vietnam.
You see, and that's a point that we really don't hit on when we talk about these all these problems we're having now. A lot of these problems, as you can see, happened during these times. They were manufactured during these times.
You see, a lot of these young men, it was hard on them because a lot of them did come from that, they came from that post, we're winning, that, the factory workers, whatever, had some money, the generation, their parents did well, their parents stayed married, their parents, had some money. So they were like kind of like the first spoiled generation. Like, really not really the first spoiled one because we did well throughout time. But the and in recent in the past 60 years, we're dealing with the past 60 some years, right? So they were the first spoiled generation of the recent 60 years, right? So yeah, and so for them, when they went and dealt with all the crap that they saw in Vietnam, and they were blowing up children that look like them. Children, brown children. Like they're over there blowing up brown babies and stuff. Do you know the scars that these guys are carrying? And they didn't have no reason for it. There was no nobody. And then when they came, it was disgusting. And then they came home, everybody hated them, and they acted like you participated in that annihilation of those people over there. And then the real crazy thing is, just fast forward a few years, and the Vietnamese are over here doing better than they are, owning daggone nail salons. That's a whole nother story. Well, I guess it's really not a whole nother story. It is the story, isn't it? Yes, it is.
So would you? So that didn't happen in World War II, because I heard and I know it's going back a little further, but I'm saying this is why we got to go back and look at our history because
World War II, they was heroes. They was respected. Korea, World War I, all the prior wars. These guys were all considered beloved heroes, and they were respected, and they were given honorable, treatment and thank yous and yes, and it was a thing of pride. But this Vietnam War, this was the love, peace, love, peace. Oh no, don't make love, not war. That's what was going on at home. And they didn't know anything about it, understand? Because they left when everybody was wearing suits and minis and nice skirts and stockings and, and high heels and all that, and top hat. And not top hats, but, whatever those hats were. You know what they're called. Anyway, but when they came out of it, everybody was in a hippie zone. And so they didn't know that everybody had gone to this thing where we really hate war, we hate this Vietnam War. They didn't know about that. So they come home and everybody hates them. I mean, on top of the fact that you've done horrific things and seen horrific things, the entire country hates you. That was the most devastating.
and not saying the PTSD that those brothers picked up over.
Just add that to your PTSD. Add that. So yeah, Vietnam was really rough, and understand that right after Vietnam there was a brief, because that was like King died, da 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 da. Then what happens? A little brief period of affirmative action. Okay, so the brief period of affirmative action meant a lot of I wouldn't say a whole lot, but quite a good many of the Negroes went to college, became doctors, lawyers, computer people. All these people. It was only 2 years, but we made the most of it because we're not lazy people. We're ambitious. We're creative. We're inventive. So in 2 years, we made a big difference. It made a big difference in our numbers. Okay, but not only that, there was this period where you could actually, if you didn't want to go to college, you could get a trade. You could go to, and you were taught trades in school, right? So you were taught trades in school as an option. You could go work a trade. You could go work for a company because we made everything in the USA. Made in the USA. Everything was made in the USA. So that being the case, you had the ability to make a living, support a family well, buy your house, buy your car, save money because this was opportunity. But it was very, very brief period. This whole thing of there being jobs, being unions, it did not last long for the Negro. It was real brief. I would say the union period and job period, I would say from Vietnam. Well, I mean, maybe, I would say from the 1960s to the 1978. That was the union job period. It started at 1978. The union started to fall apart. Everything started disappearing. The factory started closing in 1978. Around the 80s, things were starting to shut down, man. That it the next generation didn't get to see it. And it was really striking to me and my own family because my mother, my aunts worked at a particular factory, and my little cousin, her mother, I didn't know her mother worked there. I knew her grandmother worked there. That was my aunt. So I knew that her grandmother worked there, but I didn't know her actual mother worked there too. And she said she went to a company picnic, and she said, "Oh, it was so nice, and there were games, and there was things for us to do, and all this food and all these little gifts they gave us." She said, "I just wanted to grow up and be able to work for that, for Carter Wallace too." It's Carter Wallace. They made Arid deodorant, right? And I was like, for real, And she just told me that at the summit, at the Indian summit we had a couple of years ago. And I was like, wow, like she really, that's what was her aspiration, right? But it wasn't to be for her because by the time she grew up, it was gone. The entire company was gone. And there was an opportunity like that for her at all.
Yeah. So what was the year that all the industry dried up and left?
Well, I would say that would be like from 1978 to 1994 or so. 1978 to 1994, 92, 92, 94. That's when industry dried up and left.
And
Yeah.
including the car companies too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It didn't take long. I mean, it didn't take long.
Right.
All they had to do was decide to send it overseas, and pretty much these places shut down quick.
Yeah.
It was like 1 minute there were thriving factories, and thriving things, workplace, and the next thing they're shutting their doors. And it was done intentionally. That also was an action on against the Indian. Understand? See how they're on strike? They had good pay, man. They had good benefits. The union made sure you got paid well. The union made sure you got good benefits. They vilified the union. Yeah, there was some crooks in these unions. Of course, there was some crooks, criminals, thugs, daggone, mafias types and stuff like that. But the reality, it gave people a living wage, and it was worth it to them to have these people that was scrubbing and stealing and ciphering off the money, whatever. But basically, the reality with the union is it created a fair playing field, and it protected the workers. And that thing got beat down and destroyed. And they took away the daggone companies and everything. And they didn't do it because they did it because they want to make money for greed, but the main thing was the main benefit was it destroyed the Indian. You could not make once again, you could not make money, you could not support your family. All that's about destroying you. That's about annihilation. And they don't care if they take out their own people along with you. They do not care. Because they don't like poor white folks anyway. They don't. So I mean they're okay with taking out these these slaves, the white slaves, along with you. That's okay with them. That's okay with them. And they do it over and over again. Just like every assault that they make on us, they don't mind it is actually going to impact their own people. Well, they don't consider them their own people. They're below them. So they don't care if it actually kills off, the other Europeans. They don't care. Okay. Really, the only people they care about are the Boule, the other black. I don't know if they care about black supremacists. They use black supremacists, but the only thing the globalist white supremacists care about are other globalist white supremacists. That's all they care about.
What about in the 70s, the arts, the literature, the movies, the things that were being put out there for the 70s? How did that make an impact on us?
Well,
The arts, because now we're in the mainstream. We're not on farms listening to the radio no more. Everything is being broadcast mainstream. Did that have an effect?
yes, it actually did have. What do you mean? Like the music that we listen to and everything.
The music, the movies, the
Oh, the pimp movies, all that
yeah,
black exploitation.
yeah, yes,
Black
yeah.
exploitation was a major thing. Um, that was a major. Um, see, the media, they found that out as soon as that whole birth of a nation. But that's going back in time again to what we need to talk about on another occasion. Is that whole introduction of media and the power that it yields on and on against us. Yeah, we love our pimps and our thugs, and then they saw how well it worked. That's why they brought back the daggone gang stuff and all kinds of criminal stuff when they brought it back. Right? They had to bring it back. If it works that good the first time, why wouldn't they bring it back? Right? Why
Can I ask you
wouldn't
a
they?
question? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because this is what I don't get about that whole era. That was the cornballest shit ever. And what did they have to do? Would it be that Vietnam era to soften the mind up to fall for that bullshit?
Oh, but you know what? You got to understand one thing about indigenous people is that we love us. We love seeing us. We love seeing us. We don't care really what it is. Just see it ourselves. We hunger for that. So we'll watch anything really if
Yeah,
it's us
yeah,
in it.
no, yeah,
We
no.
really will. And so that's how we fall for that stuff. and to be able to see us looking good on the screen, please. Yeah, we and then you also have to understand that many of us, everybody didn't leave the homeland. A lot of people stayed. So everybody wasn't in the mindset of like, I know I need to get out of here. I ain't go falling for all this stuff. I ain't being treated like this. I ain't being daggone massacred, slaughtered, but anyway, but there were some people who was like, I just stayed and took it. So we have a lot of people who are actually sheep, you know, that they that that
Say,
you
Hawk,
gotta respect that there's different levels. I always say all kinds of people need all kinds of entertainment. So there's different levels of entertainment for the different people, So
but Dolomite was corny.
no, Dolomite that no, but Dolomite was fly because man, he made that movie out of nothing but a dream, man. That man, I ain't mad at Dolomite. I ain't mad at Dolomite. I'm sorry, man.
You gotta,
He made that out of a dream. It was stupid. It was straight stupid. But
you
doggone,
rat soup eating my.
he made that out of nothing, man, but a doggone dream. I mean, yeah, the brother, you gotta hand it to the brother for believing in himself, okay? Determination.
What about the Mac?
What about hey, we got the Black Godfather.
So y'all, this is what I'm saying. When this movie thing really hit, when Negroes was in the movies, I mean, from the jump, they just made us look stupid. I didn't get it. My mother loved it, but I didn't get it.
There's a new Godfather in town.
That type shit.
Hey, and hey, this is what's so interesting, y'all. You can't imagine that the area that my people are from, and a lot of our areas are like that. It's real rural. It's real country. If you saw it now, you wouldn't imagine. But a sister put together. She passed away some years ago. Sister Frances. She passed away, but she did the research in those records and compile books of pictures of different businesses and landmarks that was on the Eastern Shore. And what I found out is that during a period of like sometime in the 1950s, 1940s, 1930s, there were two movie theaters that we owned. The Indians was owning two movie theaters. So I mean, we love movies. If a small area like that can actually withstand having two movie theaters, we love movies.
They're probably making their own movies too.
Most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely.
So which movie was this?
This one's The Godfather. The Black Godfather. Are you down for the Black Godfather?
And why do we always have to take movies that they make and put black in front of it?
Why do we do that now? We do that now. What was it? Steel Magnolias? Why would you make a version? Did we make a remember that movie that I did? And it was acting in it, and it was so contrary to our culture. It was offensive the way they was treating their mama, and we did this Caucasian movie, and I don't even know why we do that. As if we have no stories of our own. That is so. I don't get it. I do not get it. I do not get it.
So to those kind of movies, because the music, I mean, and even in those movies, the music was off the hook. But those images that were coming across to the screen, what has it led to now?
I mean, that has okay. So when they did those movies, they was trying to what? So we really had families. We had solid families, and they knew it. They knew that was the reality, but they wanted that next generation to worship something else, something anti-family. Just like now, all this daggone LGBT stuff is being put on front street. They want our babies to worship again something anti-family. The
Right.
last time it was the pimp, right? The next time it was the gangs. This time it's the LGBT, anti-family.
Right.
They use this rhetoric over and over again. What can we do to take the indigenous person away from their family? Oh, yes, religion. Oh, yes, pimping, being out there in the street, hoeing it up. Yeah, that's what we need to tell them, that that's sexy. That's the way to live. We're going to tell them how to live. We're going to tell this next generation that, because see, and what they did was they created a wedge between generations that didn't exist in our culture. We didn't have a wedge. There wasn't a generation gap in our culture, but they manifested that. They taught us that through their movies and their examples. So we manifested copying off of them. Oh, dad, you don't know, you don't understand me. Copying off of these these Caucasians. We're gonna feel like we don't respect our parents. We don't respect them. We're gonna be disrespectful, which we never were. And so what do we worship? Oh, the pimps and the hoes. The pimps and the hoes was worthy of our respect. Dad working a respectable job, mom doing what she had to do was not something that we respected. And this music that was so inspiring, well, that was their old music, and that wasn't cool either. So we had to come up with something else. And we did.
Now, a lot of people say that was the golden age for rap. And a lot of people say when rap first started out, it was cool and then it got worse. Can you explain that phenomenon?
Yeah, I mean it was all about peace, love, and let's rap battles were just about words, and and then there was dance battles, but yeah, it was actually not a it was a positive time, and a lot of the raps were just simple and inspiring, and poor righteous teachers, they were very poetic and prophetic, but so there were some really good groups out there. But see, guess what? What did they do? They wanted to mainstream. They wanted to get with the big corporations. And what did the big corporations do? They turned us into something that can destroy ourselves. So then the lyrics had to change. So then we had to be talking against each other. They had to create divisions within our daggone family once again. And we allow it. Why? Because of $1. For the money, we allow them to change our direction. Change something that was positive, uplifting, fun, into something that actually made people angry. The whole energy of it changed. Now you got Queen Latifah trying to defend the fact that somebody's calling her a hoe or a bitch, and they calling her a hoe or a bitch. That didn't happen before. That didn't happen before. Then it gets even worse. They talk about Glocks and shooting and all this and that, and it all became about what you got and what he don't got, and I'm gonna kill you, and then you got gangster rap that goes into it, where they actually glorify killing, and that was even deeper than daggone a black exploitation, just the pimps and hoes. These are just a bunch of young kids out there killing each other really for no reason, but you walked on their turf.
And then the films that came out during that time too.
New Jack City was very daggone detrimental.
Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. See, people actually romanticize that. These movies are very, very impactful. And if you, and I'm gonna tell you, like seriously, as a young person, there was somebody, who was I listening to? Somebody, one of the YouTube guys, was saying something about how he watched the movie and he remembers at 5 years old. He remembers it to this very day, like it was yesterday. Movies are very impactful. They shape parts of our psyche that we're not aware of. A lot of times people get in relate. Okay, a lot of times, like even they're going. I'm gonna tell you, like Kanye even admitted that him being exposed to porn at a young age has messed up what he finds attractive in women. Media is extremely important and very, very powerful. Poetic justice, yeah, Jason's lyric. You're right. You're right. These movies, the movies, and let me tell you, as these movies were changed out, it changed the way we saw ourselves. But it also created a distrust because then we're like, oh yeah, the older people start thinking, well, this is what young people about. They are a bunch of criminals. They're doing all this stuff. I don't know. I know how my kids are, but then again, all these kids are like thugs. And so it kind of perpetuated that thing. And they wanted to do that. They wanted to create that whole energy that we were the villains because that's what they did before, back in the 1900s. They created a villain village, a villain image for the Negro. And they did it all over again with the thugs and the gangs and the daggone, um, the rap music of the time, the gangster rap music.
Uh,
And I'm a rap person, I can't, I'm not a hater of rap, I mean, I'm a Jersey girl, so I heard Philly and I heard New York and I was, I knew all the words to the rap, so I cannot say, you know what I mean? I saw the transition, I saw how that worked and everything, but by the time it started getting real gangster rappy, I was starting my own family, so I was in a different phase in life. But it really did do terrible things to our community. And as I came back and saw the devastation, I was like, dang.
Shaw Q brings out a movie. I'm about it. Have you ever saw that?
No, I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
So I was down south when I saw it. All my cousins, man, you got to see this movie. I'm about it. Master P.
Master P?
It was some Dolomite shit.
Oh, wow.
And it was and so this is the only part of the movie that sticks out of my mind. He beats this brother with a baseball bat in the head for a scene in the movie. And so then I started hearing how popular this guy is becoming. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's how they do it. You know, that villain, to start loving and honoring and bowing down and worshiping.
You got to destroy your own people to move
Yeah,
up the ladder.
yeah,
You got to be part of the takedown. You and maybe not your own people. Like I said, some of these people aren't us. Most of these people in show business aren't us.
right.
But not most of them. I should say some of them. But basically, whatever they are, they're desperate black supremacists, and that's what they do. It's by any means necessary. But now they're finding out how dangerous their position is because these people will destroy them in a heartbeat, literally destroy them
Right.
because they own them. At any time they'll destroy them. And that's the choice they made, though. That's the choice they made. So when I came back, through to New Jersey and New York, I was like, wow, it was all cracked out. I was devastated when I saw Harlem. Harlem was all shot out. A lot of places were shot out. And Yeah, it was devastating what it did. It was really like apocalypse. It was really bad. And I don't know. I didn't. I wasn't in the. And up top when they did that cleanup that Giuliani cleaned up New York, so-called cleaned up. I guess he annihilated a bunch of us, because 42nd Street looks like Disneyland. See, this is what's crazy about what's happened in this country. I'm gonna tell you what's happened. Back in the 80s, 42nd Street, a lot of New York looked like trash, right? It looked crazy. It was wild. A lot of X-rated stuff, prostitution, a lot of people giving you flyers, offering you drugs, piss in the street. It looked like that. However, the way okay, I mean, however, it was the people were not as, even though you saw all that, the people, their souls were not as filthy as they are now, right? They're not as they were not as demonic. They might have been doing those things in the open and those things were happening, but they were not demonic. There weren't so many deeply demonic people controlling things, right? So then Giuliani so-called cleans it up by killing off a bunch of indigenous people, and now it looks like sanitized like Disney World. It's beautiful, pretty, whatever, whatever, but it actually is the most, you can the change and the sterility is palpable. You don't feel the warmth of the city. You don't feel the creativity. You don't feel the spirit. You don't feel the love. You don't feel the energy anymore. It just feels dead. It looks nice, but it is a dead city. It is not the same. They killed, when you remove the indigenous people, you kill off the soul, you kill off the spirit, you kill off the energy. And that's what they have done. That's what they want to do to this entire planet. That's what they want to do. What has happened to New York, what's happened to 42nd Street, these different areas in New York, Soho, whatever, Greenwich Village, they want to do it to the entire planet. Erase all the indigenous people and leave this fake, plastic, sanitized, these destructive entities in its place. They're vacant, they're void, they're lifeless. They have no soul. But that's what they want. That's what they want to do.
So
And
what corner is this?
oh, I don't know. That's not a personal picture, so
Oh,
I don't know. It's just a picture. I think, I don't know. It's just a picture I grabbed from the thing. I do have really good personal pictures, but I didn't have time to grab them because at the time, like in the 80s, I was doing like media stuff. So I was taking pictures. So I have some really great shots of like, bums in Harlem and maybe, different stuff. But no, it's people like standing around a garbage can with the fire going in it to keep warm. I had some really fly shots. But anyway, um, yeah. So yeah, crack. Okay, and I didn't get a shot of this, but y'all, I don't know if a lot of young people, do you know, or maybe you are, I don't know. What about the crack babies? Okay, what about the crack babies? That was a major thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it was.
We have the crack babies are in their 30s now. Okay, that was supposed to be. They were supposed to be like, oh, the crack babies, they're not gonna make it. Da 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 da. You know, all this and that. Just such a devastation. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What we gonna do about these horrible babies that have so many problems and got to go through withdrawals and blah blah blah. So what happened to that?
We don't even talk about that. That's not
We
even.
don't.
Yeah.
We don't even talk about that. And you know what?
Do you see where it's a problem?
I don't see where it's a problem. I don't see this thing, but it's not this. Like, look at this image. It's not this. It really isn't. Okay. What is and the fact that we don't have this, like this is not a predominant presence in our families or in our community, despite the daggone prevalence of crack babies, so-called prevalence of crack babies, that we don't have these babies like this. And think about it. Think about it. What are real crack babies? A lot of our singers and stars are actually the crack babies. So see, crack didn't hurt our babies. That's how strong we are. It didn't cause deformities. It didn't cause them to be weird. It didn't. That's how strong our babies are. They defy crack. They didn't turn into this weirdo looking guy. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but they didn't. It didn't happen to us. Nope. I can tell you. I'm gonna show you a crack baby. I'm gonna show you a real crack baby. Here, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna. Oh. God. Oh.
So it's that they're just trying to hit us from all angles.
They are hitting us from all angles, but it's important that you know the assaults as the assaults are happening. If we don't see the assaults as they're happening, we can't address them, and we can't, and we should be angry about them. We should be angry at them. We really should. Like, how in the world are we not? Okay, so here it is. This is the real crack baby. Let's see. We got it. I got it. Here it is. I got it. All right. Here it is. All right. So here's a crack baby. Crack babies we ain't got no crack babies that are messed up. That don't happen. Okay. Because we are the strongest people ever. As much as they throw at us, we keep going. Keisha Cole is a crack baby, right? She seriously is. I love Keisha Cole. She's beautiful. She's a wonderful singer. She's strong. She's resilient. And yet she really is that.
Who was that?
Master P. So I mean, Tupac, that's a crack baby. Our crack babies are geniuses. We are indestructible people. See, that's what we need to realize. First of all, see, this is the thing. Y'all don't understand. If you didn't grow up or didn't really pay attention or failed to or just forgot how much they talked about crack babies in the 90s, in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
It was all over the news all the time. Crack babies, crack babies, crack babies. They wanted us to have crack. They wanted all our babies to be crack babies. That's why they did that. It's like a mantra. Crack babies, crack babies, crack. They're hypnotizing. Crack babies, crack babies. And so there are crack babies. Look at them. They're amazing. Most of our stars are crack babies. So that's how powerful we are as a people. They throw everything at us and we keep on ticking. But that doesn't mean we should not stop and realize that they just attacked us. And that goes against them. That goes against them. You attacked us again, unprovoked, no reason, tried to kill us all the time. This has got to stop. Ugh. Anyway, but yeah, crack babies are our crack babies are phenomenal. So that was not something that actually became anything that we should that we needed to be concerned with. Just like all the other things they throw at us that we just overcome like it's nothing. And then we don't even realize it. We don't pat ourselves on the back. We don't acknowledge it. We just nothing. We just keep on moving and keep on striving. Oh, we're just gonna keep on keeping on. And then let us not forget, actually, before that, we had HIV.
Yeah, they tried to wipe us out with that one.
They did. And then, despite the fact that you got this easily Googleable, Dr. Fauci, you're killing us because he actually killed our babies by giving them ACT in New York. He actually is an indigenous baby killer. But if you tell some of these daggone African Americans that, they will cut your throat. I almost got beat up by a 92-year-old saying something about Dr. Fauci. He acted like that was his brother. That rat. I mean, there are queer, gay, LGBT people who, if you say something about Fauci, they're gonna freaking act like they're gonna defend it, and they forget about this stuff because everybody's still trying to get to Friday. Friday, they just think about the weekend. They're just living for the weekend. That's what they're doing. They're not thinking about the fact that, you know, oh yeah, that's right. Fauci was trying to kill these babies. He did kill these babies by giving them ACT. He killed all these, and like I said, it don't matter. See, the other thing is, you think that they want all these queer people? I'm not really sure what this plan is, what the end game is with this. They don't want all these queer people. I don't think so. Or maybe these people were just no. These people were killed because they owned a lot of money. They have a lot of money. They don't have children. They're disconnected from their families, and they owned a lot of property. So killing these Caucasian gays was very, very profitable. Trust and believe.
So do we even look at it like that?
Well, we need to. You need to follow the money. Everything you do, you should follow the money because that's where you're gonna find the motivation. Follow the indigenous people and then follow the money.
So when was this? Mid 80s?
Yeah, uh-huh. The early to mid 80s. Uh-huh.
Wow.
And now they got a shot to say it prevents but it don't prevent. They use so much double speak. I don't understand why anybody would inoculate themselves with anything they push on the television. It almost sounds ridiculous that you would actually let something go into your body that was recommended to you by television. Like you and then you go to the damn doctor and tell them what you want based upon a commercial. That's insane. And then if you listen to urban radio, it's nonstop pushing drugs at you.
Are they still doing that?
Oh, they're still pushing all kinds of drugs at you. And they got new drugs they're pushing at us now too. hmm Most of their public service announcements and commercials are drug related. Yes, indeed. Oh yeah, that's right. That say no to drugs era, right? They criminalized the drugs so that they could throw all of us in jail, that pipeline to jail. Yeah, all these different traps, all these different daggone attacks on us. This happened in such quick succession,
So
one after the other after the other.
how are we easily manipulated? Because and that's what I'm saying. Just looking at this 20 years that you just looked at the last couple of hours, you would think we would get it.
No, because people don't look back. That's isn't that something about our culture? We don't look back. Must be like must be something biblical like Lot. Don't look back. You're gonna turn into a pillar of salt. I don't know, but we don't look back. We don't sit up there and like I said, also there seems to be a thing where we feel like, Oh, it's going to get my blood pressure up. Or I don't want to think about it. It might make me mad. A lot of you hear a lot of us say, oh, if I think about that, I'm just going to get too mad. I don't want to think about it. Well, I say, get mad. I say, it's healthy for you to blow off some anger. I say, internalizing this stuff is giving you hypertension.
You could have a point there.
Let it out. It is not healthy to keep everything all bottled up like that. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to go to I think this is one of my laster slides, laster pictures. One of your favorites.
Who was that?
What is it? (9/11).
Oh, 9/11.
Mm-hmm. 9/11.
Yeah, I really can't believe that. What do you think that did to the overall psyche of people, in that era?
Well, you have to understand, two things happen in that, at least two, probably three things happen. I'm just not recalling the third one. But first, I think it was some kind of school shooting or college shooting. But first we had, I think the first was which happened first? No, first was 9/11. And then it was the DC sniper. And then there was some kind of college shooting or something like that. But 9/11, that changed our freedom. And we consented to it wholeheartedly. That was to change the way the US dealt with its people as far as their freedom to come and go. And it didn't make any sense, because if it was an attack, a strike by a foreign nation, how is it that you enslave your own people instead of banning those people from your country? I mean, really, everybody who was suspected to be connected with the attacking nation should have been marched out. They should have been marched out if that was a real attack. I don't mean to make people real freaky, but I'm telling you, the way they acted post 9/11 is not like you would act if it was a real attack. Let me break this. Let's look at this. The Oklahoma bombing, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Columbine. But see, the Columbine shooting, that's right. But this is the thing. This thing, they said these guys were training. They went to, they would learn how to fly planes in our country. They didn't change anything. To this day, you can go and learn how to pilot a plane for a couple of $100. They're at the rock bottom price. They're trying to get people to be pilots. So they didn't put any restrictions on you being able to come in and fly a plane around. That would be the first thing that they should have locked down. The second thing is, like I said, anybody who's affiliated with that country that caused the assault, they should have been marched in and questioned. There should have been no more immigration. The doors should have been shut on those people. The ban of them coming in this country after something this devastating. Did that ever happen? No, instead our freedom got changed because That was the purpose of it, to strike so much fear into the nation that we said, yeah, okay, whatever we got to do to be safe, let's do it. Whatever you say. Whatever you say. Oh my God, what a horrible thing. Whatever we have to do to change, okay, because of 9/11, we'll do it. Nobody dared balk at it because of what a devastating thing it was. And nobody could conceive that this nation would actually fire, explode its own people. No, this country would not do that. This corporation wouldn't kill its own people, would it? It does it all the time. The corporation kills its own people all the time. Every
Oh,
war, all these toxins they put into the daggone environment, all these wars, they kill their own people all the time. It's part of business. It's a calculated risk. It's not a calculated risk, it's business. It's business. It's a part of business. And some of these losses you need for the profit, for the bottom line. They come on now. I have a cousin that was killed in the Pentagon for 9/11. So I'm not saying that people didn't die. I'm not saying that didn't happen. What I'm saying is that we're dealing with a corporation that is not loyal to any people except the leaders of the corporation. If you're not on the executive board, they give no F's for you. None. None. And all these countries across the planet are in cahoots on this. But it keeps on. They all said that they have never been to America, a staged mass killing. Look at how they did the Move folks. Yep, the Move folks. Yep, they will gun. Okay. That's the thing. We forget these things. They will gun people down, and it's not some crazy vigilantes in robes like they want you to believe. It's the corporation. It's the corporation. It's the corporation. So now,
where do we go from 9/11? What was the major change of that? Do you think it was the mass immigration we're seeing now? Did that have something to do with it?
it should have been the opposite. The mass immigration. See that's why it doesn't make any sense, because it should have been no immigration should have been allowed after 9/11, and instead they have you going through the airport all restricted. You can't bring a daggone a thing of lotion. You can't bring a bottle of water on a plane. So they're restricting you and what you can do. You can't bring you can't bring a battery. You can't all this stuff. You're being treated like a criminal, but yet they hadn't changed any rules as far as all these people are allowed to freely immigrate into your homeland. It doesn't add up. It makes no sense whatsoever. That's right. That's right. We have to start doing what we used to do and supporting each other and seeding each other's dreams and building together, and trusting each other again. Yep, that's true, Hawkeye. But yeah, so um, you know, so this happened. And then it changed the way we didn't we it changed the way we looked at being safe in the world. And it made us feel like, oh wow, our country needs to protect us because whatever. We didn't even care that our president didn't even go after the people that actually caused the daggone the whole demolition of the Twin Towers. We didn't care. They all seemed like bull crap, and the war was with the wrong people and all that. We just let it roll. And every time we show ourselves not to be astute, that's when they continue on. See? Now, if we actually showed ourselves to be wiser than they actually believe we are, if we showed ourselves to be more responsive and more in opposition to what they're doing, we could stop this. But we are constantly consenting by our ignorance and by our lack of response at all. A non-response is a response. When you don't say anything, you're consenting. When you don't say anything, you're consenting to everything. So the fact that we never speak up when all these things happen, that's why these things keep happening. That's nice they named the school after her. That was sad that she passed away. A lot of good people passed away with that assault. A lot of good people.
That assault.
Mm-hmm. So until we start looking at things in the correct manner and to call these things what they are, which are attacks and assaults, and start addressing them like they are, and start speaking up for what is happening against this media. We need to start filing suit against these media companies because they are evil. How dare you promote this daggone story about the police officer stating that the little boy is 6 years old, but he did it intentionally. Meanwhile, a 13-year-old gets murdered and nobody's talking about it. Meanwhile, a child gets murdered by a dog and another person is being charged with homicide for their dog, which that's kind of harsh. You get charged with homicide. I mean, I could see if you said sicker, you use the dog to attack a person. I don't know. People, it's insane. Nothing is making sense. And yet it does make sense because they're doing things to see how much they can get away with. And every time we do not respond, they're getting away with it. They're getting away with it. When are we going to start saying no? And we have our mechanism to speak to them. We have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have all these little chat rooms and stuff or whatever, Clubhouse. We have mechanisms to speak out our discontent. And if we don't do it, we we got to do it. You got to speak out because like I said, your silence means that you give them your consent. You're compliant with them if you're silent. And that's why we keep getting these constant assaults because they will not stop until you're dead or till you check them and you put them in their place and you're like, "Look, you're not allowed to do that. I'm the indigenous person. This is my homeland and you are violating." See, until you stand up and be who you are and act like the person you're supposed to be, they're not going to treat you like it. They're not going to tell you got that power. You got to know who you are and you got to know your power and then you got to use it. Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple. My Lisa channel's not a channel. My real channel's Indigenous Akamat. But I don't really have that much on it because I don't really have. I don't know. That's not my thing. I got stuff to do. But um, but basically, that's the thing. We have to know who we are, and we have to take action. We cannot depend on anybody else to do it for us, or somebody to be like, "Oh yes, here you are, here you go." Just like the indigenous one said. Look what happened to the Bruce family. They took the low ball. They lowballed themselves. Why would you lowball themselves after all this time and after what was done to your people? Why would you just take that lowball offer? We gotta, you know why you do it? Because you don't know who you are and you really don't know what your actual rights are. So when you're not in your correct understanding of who you are, what your rights and what your power is, anybody can do anything to you. Now they're gonna start putting, I hear, that poison additive that was in the cure that they gave that they mandated. They're gonna put that into every inoculation mandated for children. They're all gonna be made out of a non-vaccine. All of the childhood inoculations are slated to change.
Are we ready for that? Are we paying attention to that? I mean,
You
are we paying
cannot.
attention?
You must. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, are we paying attention? Are we up on that? Do we realize the implications of all these people bringing in their products from their countries, knowing that they can get away with anything over here, and we're just all too willing to just walk up to a counter and throw our money up there? Are we really teaching the kids this? Because in the area that I work, baby, we gone. And trying to just ignore it like we see it don't happen it, like we see it ain't happening, I don't think is a smart thing to do.
I mean, really, and truthfully, in actuality, to the fact that they mandate any of these things in a time when we know it's not necessary, because a lot of these things were created anyway. So you're not going to be at risk for them, especially since they haven't even been circulating in the population for so long. And and today, and then when people start pulling away from these things, they start making up fake outbreaks. Well, there's an outbreak of this, an outbreak of that, coming from this country or coming from that country. I, you know, this is the thing. We have to understand. We have to be smarter. We have to be. We can, and the mandates. How is it they gonna tell you your child can't? This is supposed you paying for it. First of all, you paying for these schools. I don't care if it's not a private school, if it's whatever. You pay taxes. You're paying for school. How dare they mandate to people who are paying for school?
Yeah,
And this is the more powerful thing than just being, oh, how dare they mandate to me when I'm paying for school? Okay, you're okay, you're a slave. But think of this: if you weren't you and you were, a Lettahatchee, then they try to mandate to your people that they got to take it. No, then you're like, no, no, no. Our tribal leader is gonna have to speak to the superintendent. No, 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 no. We are not going to be subjected to that.
right.
We're not. Will not mandate that for our people. See, then you're standing on as a nation self-protecting, self-governing, as you should. That's the power that all of you should have in this chat. All of you. That is what you should be doing. But that's what we can't do if we're too busy not knowing who we are and spinning around listening to people who aren't giving you any direction as to how you can get remedy from this matrix.
And you see what all that history, what is it added up today? And Hawkeye said it, you know, if you're just looking at simple things, it's like a communication network, a channel, a Roku channel. You have all these immigrants coming over here and they have these channels and stuff to work with, and we don't have them.
Right.
And we're not trying to get them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's from the past 60. We ain't been trying to do that then.
Right.
And if we are doing it, you know, we're doing it with somebody else. So if we don't look at where we've been, we damn sure won't know where we going.
Mm-hmm.
Damn sure won't.
Yes, right. We won't.
So, well, Lisa, is that it?
Yeah, I think that's all. That's all I got. I think that's it.
Well, hey, thank you. That kept me up for 2 hours, 2.5.
I know that's unusual for you, man. You pushing it.
I don't try. Listen, I want to
Thank you.
tell everybody in the chat. I hope you learned something from what we shared tonight, because it's very important that you pass this type stuff on to your children, so they won't make the same mistakes previous generations have made. So, thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Peace.